Please ignore the fact that my hair looks like a lion's mane today. Not really sure what happened there. But to any transphobes that say that my hair is fake, trust me, I would buy better wigs than this. Also, ignore any seagull sounds you might hear outside. Maybe there's a convention in town or something. So, what's going on with fact-checking right now? Well, as I'm sure you're aware, Meta, the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, kicked off this year by stating that they would be getting rid of fact-checkers on their social media. As reported by the BBC, Meta is abandoning the use of independent fact-checkers on Facebook and Instagram, replacing them with Twitter-style community notes, where commenting on the accuracy of posts is left to users. In a video posted alongside a blog post by the company on Tuesday, Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg said third-party moderators were too politically biased, and it was time to get back to our roots around free expression. I won't dwell on this anymore because I'm sure you're already aware of it, but it turns out that fact-checking, or the lack thereof, is a bigger problem than we think it is. More specifically, because this is a channel talking about books, it's a problem in the world of publishing. On February 17th, the bookseller published an article titled "Carelessness Rife in UK Publishing Fact-Checking as Concerns Grow Over Workloads, AI, and Status Bias." I'm going to be cherry picking here from this article, but I recommend you go and read it, so the link is in the description. The article kicks off by saying, as the international debate around fact-checking continues, the bookseller has heard from those in the publishing industry who are questioning how robust the UK publishing's approach is to validating authenticity in non-fiction, citing overburdened workloads, the increasing use of artificial intelligence, AI, status bias, and a lack of US-style peer reviews. In the next paragraph, the article mentions Meta's decision with regards to fact-checking, which we've already gone over. But from there, the article goes on to talk about a few controversies with regards to non-fiction publishing in the UK. For example, there was also much controversy across the trade last spring when inaccurate claims about the journalist Jay Rayner were published in Johann Hari's book on weight loss drugs, Magic Pill. Hari employs two fact-checkers himself, while Bloomsbury used a fact-checker who had previously worked for The New Yorker, and all three worked on the text. Hari, who has admitted wrongdoing in his journalism in 2011, claimed full responsibility for the error. Bloomsbury apologized and corrected the text. Other controversial examples in recent years include Chancellor Rachel Reeves's The Women Who Made Modern Economics in 2024 and Naomi Wolf's Outrages in both 2019 and 2021. Overwhelming workloads appear to be a major contributing factor. An editor who spoke on the condition of anonymity said, "The magic pill error was careless, and it's carelessness that I think is rife in publishing at the minute, because of the increased workload being given to already overworked staff. It just so happens that this time it concerned a really high-profile person, so it became headline news. As the amount of books being published generally is on the rise, the workload for editors and desk editors is also growing. To get books out on time, corners are being cut, and unfortunately, fact-checking is one of those things that a lot of editors see as nice to have, but let's cut it from the schedule if we don't have time. You kind of see their point. We're buying books on the basis of the expertise of the author, and they should be making sure what they're writing is correct. So editors and publishing houses are putting their faith in the writers to do their own due diligence when it comes to fact-checking their work, whether that non-fiction be about science, history, economics, politics. Doesn't seem like a great idea. It doesn't seem safe, it doesn't seem wise, it feels like a very, very dangerous downward trend, but they've given their reasons. This idea of putting faith in the author was corroborated by other editors who are mentioned in the article. All of this is anonymous, by the way. There's not a point in the publishing process when we say, okay, now it's time for the fact-checking. We work on the basis that the author is using reliable sources and doing their own fact-checking. If something looks or feels off, I'll ask for more information or clarification, but ultimately, we work on trust, and the burden of responsibility lies with the author. Another editor, also working for a corporate publisher, said, "In one book, I recall an author stated a disproven theory about the formation of the moon. I queried it, but the author, whose feelings were very sensitive throughout the edit, wanted to retain it, and it was ultimately accepted among other facts in order to placate the author. The relationship between the agent, author, and publisher trumped the integrity of the information. The book went on to win an award." This kind of thing is shocking. It calls into question the authenticity and integrity of every single thing we read. Next time you pick up a non-fiction book, again, whether it be on history, economics, politics, whatever it is, you're going to wonder how true anything is. You're going to wonder if the publisher spent any time or energy fact-checking what the author wrote. Tell me if you've had this happen to you, where you've picked up a really, really thick non-fiction book that turns out to be a lot smaller than you thought, because the final 20-25% of the page count is actually a massive bibliography of all the different sources that they've cited. That feels like a good practice, and I think it legally needs to be there. But do we trust these sources? I personally never go through and look at each one and then follow up and read that source myself. We just take it for granted that the sources are there, and that means what is there is true. But now I have my doubts. This part kind of upset me personally, not just as a queer person, but as a writer and a reader. One non-fiction writer told the bookseller they had to organize and pay for their own sensitivity reader. I was writing about topics including trans women, queer and black feminism. They, the publisher, did not care. And then we get onto the inevitable topic of AI. AI in the publishing world is a hot topic issue right now. And so of course it comes up in this conversation. Another editor who spoke anonymously said, "I think AI will change things in the future if it improves and gets better at linking users to sources of information, and could potentially save a great deal of research time. At the moment, I don't think it is useful or reliable as a way to check facts." It reads as a hopeful approach, and I appreciate hope. I'm a relatively hopeful person, but I have no faith in AI at all. I don't want to have faith in AI. I have 1,000 reasons why AI is a plagiarism software and one of the worst things to happen to technology in literally ever. I personally don't think AI should be coming up in the conversation around publishing, writing, fiction, non-fiction, anything at all. Keep AI out of the creative process, keep it out of the research process, keep it out of everything. When it comes to fiction, the reason to avoid AI entirely is obvious. Fiction, stories, art, these things are a conversation between the creator and the person who is reading it, watching it, listening to it, playing it. If it was created using AI, there is no value in that art. You cannot create AI art that has any kind of value whatsoever. And when it comes to non-fiction, I would rather trust my human writers to do their due diligence, to actually do their research, to know what they're talking about and be able to cite their sources and put their trust in copy editors, put their trust in fact checkers to actually do their jobs if they're being given a job to do at all, if they're being given the time and resources to do that job, which apparently they're not. It's a dangerous and upsetting situation, and I really, really don't like it. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable. So whether we bring AI into the conversation or not, it looks like fact-checking is a very volatile topic right now. From social media to non-fiction publishing, the idea that we can't trust what we're reading is a very real concern right now. As a millennial, I grew up with my parents saying to me, "Don't believe everything you read online," but of course my parents are boomers who spend their time on Facebook believing everything they read online. Now that Meta editor has done away with fact-checking and also labeled trans people like myself as having a mental illness, I'm not loving Instagram right now, but the fact that I'm also losing faith, or is it a fact, in non-fiction publishing is really, really tragic. The fact that these editors are overworked, the fact that sensitivity readers are just not cared about by big publishers, this is frightening. It's not supposed to happen. I recently made a video about Rebecca Yarros's insensitive and poorly researched use of Scottish Gaelic in her books, Fourth Wing, etc. And a few people pointed out in the comments that either she's not entirely to blame or she's not to blame at all, but really the blame should fall on her publisher. Now, while I do blame her because she's the one who chose to do it, I do also fully agree that her publisher should have done their work, should have realized that this is not an okay thing to do, should have brought this up with her and maybe made changes with the book. But that obviously didn't happen, so despite the fact that all of this has been about non-fiction publishing, the use of sensitivity readers and fact-checkers in fiction publishing might also be its own issue. Aside from fact-checkers, sensitivity readers are really, really important. I work as a freelance book editor, hire me, but I have also done one job as a sensitivity reader for a book about being trans. I was really grateful that the author placed their trust in me as a sensitivity reader, and I think I did a great job. Fact-checking, copy editing, sensitivity reading, these are important parts of the publishing process. And they also remind us that a book isn't written by a single person. It takes a village to raise a child, and the same is true for pretty much any work of art. Nothing is created in a vacuum, and nothing is created by a single individual. We all need help, we all need support, we all need advice in myriad different ways. And now we're in a situation where fact-checking is being called into question. Is the practice actually being done? Apparently not, or at least not as well as it should be. We are owed truth. I think I'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, if you thought that it was important, you can support me on Patreon. I would sincerely, really, really appreciate your help, your support. This channel would not exist without the support of my patrons. I have a wonderful community that you can be a part of. So join my Patreon and subscribe for books.